Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crypto News Podcast. It's your host, Matt Zahab. We are buzzing as always. And folks, we have another incredible guest locked and loaded. Been trying to get this girl on the pod for a hot minute. Bunch of scheduling mishaps, mostly on my end, but we finally got her. And oh my goodness, is this company on fire right now. Today we have Isha Varshney, head of ecosystem at the one and only Celo Foundation. You guys know them better as Celo. Isha has expertise in decentralized finance, digital currency, and the intersection of tech and economy and social inequality. She also supports global pilots developing Web3 use cases and reimagining infrastructure in emerging markets to increase financial inclusion. And this is not bullshit. She's actually in the trenches with people less fortunate than us, hauling ass and moving the needle. We love to see that. She previously co-founded a fintech company and has an MBA from Oxford Said Business School and is a qualified chartered accountant. Wow, what a bio, Isha. Pumped to have you on, my friend. Welcome to the show. How you doing? I guess this night for you, this evening for you, morning for me.
Yeah, really excited to be here. I'm really glad we're finally doing this. And it's been like an incredible few days. Excited to be talking a little bit more with you now.
I love it. You told me you're still in Singapore. You're just chilling after Token. How you enjoying Singapore?
Singapore's great. Yeah, I didn't get through some of my meetings, and so I thought I'd just hang back. Also, I think everybody felt sick after Singapore, so I took a few days off, couldn't fly out, but it's been great so far. Yeah, I got to hang out with a few builders and ecosystem players in the last 2 days. It's been incredible.
I love it.
Token was something.
How I heard the events were probably the most wild that they've ever been.
We're back, I think. Yeah, the bear's over. Yeah.
We're back,
yeah, we're
baby.
back.
They're the best words in crypto. Before we get into Celo, I'd love if you could just sort of set the stage, tell us a little bit more about yourself, a bit about your past before you jumped into crypto, obviously, and then we'll get into, obviously, all the fun stuff with Celo.
Yeah, I have an interesting background. I'm like I think you mentioned briefly, I'm a chartered accountant from India. I've done a bunch of consulting, all financial consulting, did a bunch of MBA, M&A, did an MBA after, did private equity for a little bit, which was great, but also wasn't really like, I don't know, it wasn't like my mission in life. And I'm traditionally from emerging markets. So I've done a bunch of my education in India, but my parents have always lived and worked in Kenya. And so emerging markets have been really big focus for us throughout, at least for me, that's what I understand. And so straight after the MBA, the fintech scene or some of the emerging tech scene in emerging markets was really blowing up. So I was in Nairobi for a vacation, hanging out with my parents, and I'm seeing all of these interesting fintech apps that everybody was using. And I just thought I was oh, what am I doing in London? Let me just go back to Kenya and kind of check this out, right? And if it doesn't work out, I go back. And I never did. So I did a bunch of fintech in Africa, kind of did neobanking, did fintech lending, realized the incredible potential of emerging markets. And it's kind of overlooked by most developed nations. Had my own startup after that, which was robo-advisory wealth tech. And we did a successful exit. And after that, I was looking for a new home. Web3 always seemed really interesting. I'd been kind of tracking for a few years in the background, had a bunch of friends that were working in Web3, and then found Celo somehow. And Celo was just I tell people this job and this role is tailor-made for me because it literally puts together this incredible technology that I think has so much potential that we've not even scratched the surface with the focus on a mission, purpose and mission. Celo's purpose is prosperity for all, and I can kind of talk to you a little bit more about that further on. But that's essentially what I want to do with my life, be in a mission-driven purpose organization. And then they also focus on emerging market, which is essentially where my background's from. It's where I'm passionate about financial inclusion, building financial infrastructure to the underserved is essentially what I want to dedicate my life's purpose to. And so Celo was
That's
a
amazing.
really great call for me. Yeah.
That's wild. So you grew up in India and Kenya.
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
It's been great. Yeah.
Why walk me through the whole Kenya story? That's so cool.
Yeah, my parents just moved to Kenya when we were really young, and they've been there ever since. Kenya was different back in the day when I was growing up. I'm not going to give away my age, but it was different when we were growing up. It wasn't very safe for expats. And so our parents kind of sent us to boarding school in India. And so my education has been it's been interesting. I've grown up in two different cultures. But incredible cultures. Yeah, I'm a product of I'm a weird mix of cultures. Yeah.
That's so cool. And again, just that I love the passion for actually onboarding the next, couple 100 million users, more specifically in those emerging markets. Because for us to get everyone in crypto always talks, oh, we need the next billion users. It's not going to come from where I am in Canada or my neighbors to the South America. There's just
Yeah.
our financial infrastructure is already so world class that we don't really need it right now. In a couple of years, it can make lives a lot easier and more efficient, but there's no need right now. But places like India and Kenya, Argentina with, terrible currencies, like you need crypto and you need companies like Celo. So we absolutely love to see that. Set the stage for Celo for us, because you guys do a whole lot. It's sort of tough to, especially when my normie friends always ask me questions like, what does this company do? I always have trouble when it's a company like Celo, because you guys do so much. So I think it'd be great to set the table, set the stage, give us the elevator pitch on Celo, then we'll jump into the fun stuff here.
Let's do it. Celo is a layer 1 blockchain. We're actually transitioning to a layer 2, and we launched Testnet today. So big day for us at Celo today. So the L2 Testnet is out today, and I think what makes us really unique, and I'm going to give you my version of Celo, what makes us really unique is that we, like I mentioned, very purpose-driven, mission-oriented. Our mission is prosperity for all, which essentially makes us focus on like real-world use cases. So we used to focus on real-world use cases before it was trending, before RWAs were a thing, we were kind of focusing on that. My first week at Celo, essentially, I was doing a pilot in Kenya where we were doing on-chain lending to like farmers and things like that. And that's always been like the core ethos. We focus on real-world solutions. RWAs are a really big part of that, but RWAs in a way where we're not targeting like institutional capital providers adding liquidity to like massive pools. We're talking about like RWAs where it really matters, where it's grassroots, on the ground, giving lending to like people in Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, Philippines, essentially where you have dearth of capital. It's not like we're optimizing the cost of capital, it's actual dearth of capital. We're also kind of talking about like stablecoins as something that is really important and a really big focus for us at Celo. And like stablecoin, not because it's trending and it's like the topic of discussion. It's stablecoin as store of value in economies like you mentioned, like Argentina, Nigeria, where your economy devaluates like 30% over a 2-week period. Kenya, for instance, I was in Kenya in February. The dollar was like at a 160. I was in Kenya 2 weeks ago, and the dollar was like at 120. It's really difficult to like have your net worth in a currency that kind of fluctuates that much, right?
That's wild.
And this is just like it's like, it's nothing. And so imagine having the ability to now store your value in a dollar-denominated currency, which doesn't fluctuate so much, right? It's not incremental. It is life-changing decisions, right? It's like, it's not a little thing. Like for you and me, like, if we lose a little bit of value, it's fine. But like for some of these folks, right, that change, that fluctuation in currency means whether or not they're sending 1 or 2 kids to school. And so like, it's interesting. We kind of focus on some of these solutions where we're like, hey, we want to focus on stablecoins, not because like it's cool and trending, but it's because like people can store value, and that kind of changes and impacts life in a massive way.
100%. So true. A couple of the things that, I mean, again, your mission is so wide and so many use cases, but I do love the RWA aspect that you guys are working on, because everyone else is, getting RWAs like watches and bonds and other financial products that are less sophisticated and more archaic, and everyone wants to bring them on chain. This is a $1 trillion market. But RWAs really doesn't help the poor and the less fortunate and those in emerging markets. And I'd love if you could give a couple more use cases, just sort of really build on that point in regards to how exactly you and the team at Celo are really moving the needle for RWAs for sort of the average Joe and Josephine.
Yeah, like I mentioned, right? Like RWAs are what? Like when you think of RWAs on chain right now, you were essentially thinking, like I want to say 6 to 9 months ago, you were thinking about private credit, but private credit in a form where you're loaning to enterprises and businesses. When I talk about private credit on Celo, we're talking about like, we have protocols such as Haraka, right? Haraka is essentially saying, hey, we're replicating existing models of credit, right? Which is community credit. It's called SACCO in Kenya, where like a community saves and borrows from each other. It's essentially how they've done finance all their life. And what they're doing is like, based on the community that you're in, you actually have a reputation. Based on this reputation, which has existed for time infinity, based on this reputation, we can provide you credit at actually cheaper rates than what is available in your market, right? That makes an increase of actual capital into the ecosystem, but also at rates that are affordable. we were on the ground with the team at Haraka, and I know they met like this shopkeeper that said that, hey, I borrowed a loan, and so now I can have like a shelf that I can build in the shade so I can keep my tomatoes outside. It's really as simple as that, right? We're not complicating this. She's literally like, I have shade so I can put my tomatoes outside so customers can buy it. And because of this, my revenue increased. So now I have repaid my previous loan and can take another loan to maybe add more inventory to my shop, right? And it's not complicated. It's really simple math. Like it makes math for the investor who's adding capital to this because it's actually great yield, right? But it's just this distribution network that didn't exist in traditional markets, right? Banks and traditional financial institutions don't want to give these kind of SME loans, right? And these are not even SME, these are MSME loans, right? But like protocols on chain, on Celo are kind of solving for this really last mile retail use cases or MSME use cases that I think a lot more of Web3 should focus on because it's this really interesting niche. I think that's the niche that we've always focused on. And that's, I think, what makes us special, right? It's when you say onboarding the next billion, I think that's become like a big tagline
100%.
for every single person at Web3.
Yes.
But we're actually onboarding net new users to Web3 in a way that is familiar to them and in a way that like they don't know they're getting a Web3 loan. Like they don't understand crypto. We're not explaining what a stablecoin is to them. We're saying this money is coming into a wallet, which you can then use in mobile money, which is the format of money that you're comfortable with, right? And you can pay it back in a format that you're comfortable with. And we're like just using the technology at the back end and abstracting away all the complication. And at the end of the day, you just get a loan and you can repay the loan. That's it.
100%. That's what we need in crypto, right? It's Web2 solutions based on Web3 tech, right? Or more so like products that feel and look Web2, but is run on Web3 backend. Right, that's exactly what we need, and I love that you guys are doing that. One thing that you mentioned that I want to jump back into is the transition from an L1 to an L2. Obviously, Vitalik shouted you guys out and said, "Hey, I love what the Celo team is doing." Also, I believe mentioned the incredible work you guys are doing in emerging markets. But what was the need here, Isha? Like, why the pivot from an L1 to an L2? Because present day, it almost seems like going against the grain. Everyone is so horny for L1s. They want to own, the fee transactions, and they just want full autonomy and power and control over everything in the chain. There's pros and cons to it. Obviously, with an ETH L2, you have the beautiful EVM machine, or just, I guess, EVM rather. Makes life a lot easier, but does have some potential scalability issues long-term. Super curious, why the move from an L1 to an L2?
Yeah, so I think it goes back to like why Celo became Celo as a layer one, right? The reason we were layer one was because we were always focused on this specific user base, right? And for this specific user base, Celo was uniquely built to have like things that were not existing on Ethereum, such as like really low gas fees. Gas fees on Celo from day zero has been like sub-cent, right? Becoming an L2 now allows for some of this, right? We have something called Social Connect, which allows you to map your phone number, any kind of like identifier to a wallet address. So essentially what I can do using Social Connect is send you, using my address book, tokens across on chain, right? Without actually having an OX, etc. address that I need to send it to, which is scary, right? For like from a UI perspective, it's scary for me to kind of like, even when I'm moving funds around, I kind of have to check my wallet address like 50 times. If I'm just sending it to a phone number, that's easier. So we have something called Social Connect, which is inherent to the chain, right? Which made it really easy to kind of interact from a wallet perspective, for a retail perspective. We also have this really unique thing where stablecoins in the ecosystem are gas currency. So imagine a world where you have a wallet and you only have stablecoins and you don't need another token to pay gas. My experience in Web3, the first time I was doing a token transfer, I was like, why is this not going? Well, I didn't have ETH at that point on my wallet, right?
So spooky. So spooky.
So spooky. I was like, why is this not going? And so we kind of wanted to make crypto really easy and accessible, right? At this point, the technology exists for all of this to occur, right? As an L2, we always wanted to be part of the Ethereum ecosystem and the Ethereum community. It's like going back home for us. It's not, we didn't want to be an L1 because, well, we wanted to be different. We wanted to be part of the Ethereum ecosystem. And so we were always EVM, but now it just makes like some of the things that are fundamental and core to our beliefs and values, it's possible now to do as an L2. So we're moving back into the Ethereum ecosystem. Yeah. And also I think Web3, for whatever it is, I think it's still a really great place to have like there's a lot of collaboration and cohesion within the ecosystems. From the outside, maybe not so, but we're actually really good friends with other ecosystems. So it just makes sense to kind of go back and like be part of like a bigger team. Yeah.
Well said there. No, it totally makes sense. I mean, it's something I had to ask because everyone is sort of, not everyone, but so many people are moving away from the L2s and going towards the L1s. Isha, we got to take a quick break here. Give a huge shout out to our sponsor of the show, that is Prime XBT. And when we get back, we are going to keep talking about some RWA stuff. Bloom, which is super, super cool. How Celo is expanding its ecosystem across Africa, and MiniPay, a self-custodial stablecoin wallet, which is super, super cool. Until then, huge shout out to Prime XBT, longtime friends of CryptoNews.com and longtime sponsors of the Crypto News Pod. We love Prime XBT as they offer a robust trading system for both beginners and professional traders. It doesn't matter if you're a rookie or a vet, you can easily design and customize your layouts and widgets to best fit your trading style. Prime XBT is also running an exclusive promo for listeners of the Crypto News Pod. You can use the promo code CryptoNews50, that is CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Again, that is CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. And now back to the show with Isha. Isha, we got to get into Bloom. I think this is absolutely brilliant. For the listeners at home, Bloom is an advisory service for projects to help them navigate their TGE, also known as a token generating event. A TGE is when your token goes live. So usually teams will come in, they will go on the roadshow, they will raise some money, shop around. I've been a part of many of these. It's super fun. It's super cool. It's a lot of work, but where the shit show happens is a lot of teams haven't had experience in this, or maybe have only had one hop around the pond with this, and they completely fuck up their TGE. What do I mean by that? Either tokens vest too soon, they vest too late, too much of a cliff, blah, blah, blah. All the TGE is when people who invested get their tokens. And if you don't nail this on the head, it really screws your project long term. This is why I love this so much, because you guys literally now have an advisory service for specifically this. Clearly, there was such a need. I'd love if you could tell me more about this and how you guys are helping teams actually get their TGE locked and loaded in a proper way.
Yeah. I'm really excited about this specific program for one clear purpose. This was like need that we heard from so many builders in the ecosystem. Again, yeah, because again, our ecosystem isn't like, it's also a lot of our builders are emerging market based, right? And so though they don't have the networks that some of the builders in other ecosystems may traditionally have, right? Like access to investors, access to market makers, access to exchanges. It's really hard to kind of build these networks out. It was Renee, the founder of Celo, once said that like, you hopefully do a TGE only once in your life, and it's so much. Like it's so hard. You have to learn so much for the TGE, and you hopefully, if you do it well, you only do it once, right? And so that knowledge kind of like vanishes after you're done. And so where we're hoping to kind of like bring all our builders together that are doing TGE and kind of help them navigate through this process. It's essentially like telling them what to do and how to do it, and also kind of like helping them like understand and learn from each other. It's like cohort based. We kind of do like a bunch of like sit down with some of the key players, like
That's
for instance, we did something with a market maker, we did something with like, yeah, it's just to help you, just like to navigate this really, really stressful period. And it's just, whatever they need, we kind of help them navigate, right? They need introductions, we can help with that. Do you need help negotiating? And sometimes, because like you don't want to be stuck in a bad deal, right? The first deal is not necessarily the right deal. The biggest name isn't necessarily the right person for you specifically. And so it's just helping you navigate through some of this. Should you go to like, for instance, a launchpad or a launch pool, or should you do it without? Like just having like a sounding board essentially is also really important. Somebody just that knows broad-based what is happening in the industry. And so Bloom is essentially just an advisory service for this. Like I mentioned, like not all of our builders are US and Europe based. Some of the builders really struggle for even like investors, and like investor networks are not as robust, for instance, in Africa or Latin America, right? And so like, especially for our ecosystem, it's really important to help with some of these, like, yeah, some of this.
Really well said there. Again, absolutely love this. Another thing we got to talk about is MiniPay, the self-custodial stablecoin wallet. The reason why I love this so much, just like you and I discussed earlier on in the show, emerging markets, giving access to stablecoins for those less fortunate in emerging markets. Tell me a little bit more about MiniPay. And I'd love if you could also segue this into the partnership with Opera. I believe this is an direct partnership with Opera. I could be wrong there, but you got to tell us a little bit more about this too.
MiniPay is my favorite part of Web3. I really want to say this. I was, like I mentioned, I was in Kenya 2 weeks ago, just right before token. We were there for Eid Safari. And I want to say, from the time I landed in Nairobi till the time I flew, I used the MiniPay wallet to make every single payment. And when I say every single payment, you name it, coffee, Uber,
Really?
whatever is required. Yeah, I
Holy crap.
haven't had that experience anywhere in the world. I live in New York. I can't do that in New York. But in Nairobi, I could do this, like through the MiniPay wallet. Essentially, MiniPay, it's a partnership between Celo and Opera, where the Opera team has embedded a wallet in their browser. Their browser has like over 100 million users across all of Africa. It's Android only. And they've embedded a stablecoin only wallet. Currently, the wallet has 3 stablecoins, which is CUSD, USDC, and USDT. All 3 stablecoins are gas currencies on Celo. And essentially, what users can do with this wallet is, like I mentioned, dollar-denominated stablecoins are big for us because, like, you can store value in dollar-denominated stablecoins. But in addition to that, you could do everything that I mentioned. You can on and off ramp really quickly, really easily, and it's actually pretty efficient. You could send money cross-border if you wanted. Somebody I know tested this and said, well, I think they sent it from Stockholm or I think Oslo to Malawi, I think. And they said that like it was cheaper than sending through MoneyGram or Western Union, which is traditionally how you'd send money across these borders. And it's stablecoin only wallet. Transactions settle in like less than 4 seconds. And this wallet is, I think, right now across 7 different countries in Africa only. And we just celebrated 1 year for the wallet while we were in Kenya 2 weeks ago. And publicly, we're at 3.5 million users. The thing that I think is most exciting about this wallet is how much feedback we've gotten. And when I say 3.5 million users, these are net new Web3 users. These are not folks like you and I that like are degenning. These are like net new
people,
crypto users using this wallet just to store value, and then kind of then also exploring different other things. Like we've integrated like a UBI protocol in there. We've integrated like a savings protocol in there. So there's a bunch of other things you could do, but essentially it's just a store of value and it's dollar denominated only.
That's absolutely massive. Again, just love to see real world shit happening, you know?
Yeah. And like with this, like we were mentioning, like very recently we've flipped Tron for a number of daily active wallets for stablecoins across any ecosystem. So we're really excited about this specific product. In my mind, it's the best thing that's come out of Web3, but I could be biased. I am at Celo. But yeah, we've gotten incredible feedback. Even at Token, I kind of demoed this across multiple investors, multiple other builders, and everybody was super excited about something that's so tangible.
I absolutely love that. We are getting a little tight for time. A couple more questions here, Isha, and then we'll wrap up. Celo aside, what other areas of crypto, blockchain, Web3 are really getting you going at the moment?
So I want to say Celo aside, but like just in general, I think stablecoins are a really good product market fit for us in Web3 in general. When I say stablecoin, I don't mean just dollar-denominated stablecoins. I also think that emerging market stablecoins are really exciting at the moment. We're seeing a bunch of them on Celo. My exposure to them is slightly broader. We have, I think, like 7 different currencies. But also what's exciting to me, I think, in the next 6 months is like figuring out a way to bring the FX markets on chain. Like I mentioned, we have 11 different stablecoins with 7 different currencies. Yeah. You could have liquidity on chain. The trading FX on chain would be interesting. I would love to see like larger perp markets and like FX options and FX strategies kind of like being built on chain. That to me is like real world use of like Web3, but that's me. I also come from a traditional financial background, so maybe my interests are slightly more finance focused. But yeah, I think the FX markets would be interesting in the near future.
That would be wild. I mean, if the FX markets do go on chain though, I feel like that would sort of eliminate currency for good. I don't know if that's a tough one. Do you think there's a world where both could work?
I think both could work, right? You need like emerging market currencies or like local currencies, stablecoins, because like lending can't happen in a dollar-denominated stablecoin. If I lend to you in an emerging market, you not only pay interest on your loan, you also pay the FX spread, which is really expensive in some cases. So you need emerging market or like you need local currencies. But I also think it's a world in which where that kind of like shrinks, the market for that shrinks. But this is just like a really optimistic view of the world.
I love it. Isha, what an episode. Really appreciate you coming on. This has been an absolute treat and truly love what you and the team are doing at Celo. This episode will air it will air early October. I believe it will air on October 7th, Monday. With that in mind, any news that you'd like to drop before this goes live? I know Testnet just went live. Anything else?
Testnet just went live. We got massive shout out from Vitalik 2 days ago. Keep your eyes peeled on Celo. Mainnet will go live soon. Keep your eyes peeled on Celo. We have some really exciting L2 stuff coming out, and then just general more stablecoin focused stuff coming out soon. Yeah.
I love it. And before you let us go today, can you please let us know where listeners can find you personally and, of course, Celo online and on socials?
Absolutely. You can find me on LinkedIn under Isha Varshney. You can find me on Twitter under @IVCelo. And for Celo, you can find us at Celo on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on any other social media. Yeah.
Love it. Isha, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. Can't wait to have you on for round 2. Until then, wishing you and the team all the best. Hope to meet you in person one day and can't wait to have you on for the next one.
Thank you, Matt. This was so fun. I'm excited to see how this plays out and also happy to kind of like answer any questions that your listeners may have. And thank you for having me on the pod. This was really great.
Thanks, Isha. Folks, what an episode with Isha Varshney, head of ecosystem at Celo Foundation. She was bringing the heat this episode. We touched a little bit of everything, transitioning from an L1 to an L2, bringing RWAs on chain, onboarding the next 1 billion people, to crypto, MiniPay. We touched on fintech apps and emerging markets and how Celo is expanding its ecosystem across Africa. Super cool. Huge shout out to Isha and the team for making this happen. If you guys enjoyed this one, I hope you did. Please do subscribe. It would mean the world to my team and I. Speaking to the team, love you guys so much. Thank you for everything. As always, Eustace, you are the man. Love you. Could not do this without you. And of course, back to the listeners. Love you guys. Keep on growing those bags and keep on staying happy, wealthy, and healthy. Bye for now, and we'll talk soon. Ciao.